Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo, after they lost to the Jaguars, they're 1-6 now, said that we're a soft team across the board. But I want to get you guys' reaction of that because the Patriots have not been good and they've struggled in a lot of areas, particularly the trenches.
Yeah, I think the timing of that quote is relevant for the Dolphins right now, just because
It's like speaking of
not in the regards to the players, not in the regards to the players.
Welcome back to Breakin House Rules, fellas. Another week, and not gonna lie, it was a rough week for the Dolphins.
It was.
Up in Indy, that was the win that everybody thought you get that back. You get QB1 coming back to the field, and it didn't happen. And so, I guess let's start there.
I got a lot to say today.
Go ahead.
What are we feeling? What's the pulse of the Dolphins fan base?
Last week, I was optimistic. I was feeling good. We had a watch party this weekend.
Oh.
Energy was high, bro.
It looked dope.
Dude, it was
dope.
hot. It was a great time. It was a great time.
Yeah.
But was it depressing after? I mean, I felt so good going into that game. Like you said, I thought it was the game. Like, we got the 2-2 split like we talked about going into this 4-game stretch without Tua. We're going to be fine. 3-3. It's so much better than 2-4. And we really thought we were going to be that team coming into this after this week, and it was just freaking brutal to watch. Like, I mean, 10-0. I mean, we were up 10-0. I'm like, all right. Offense is clicking, defense is clicking. Like, we look like a team like we should against a Colts team that we should beat. And then it just started spiraling. I mean, turnovers, penalties. It looked like the same Dolphins teams we've seen the last 3 weeks, just in shambles. Nothing about that game was good. I wanted to feel good about things, but I don't feel good about things anymore. The only positive is Tua's coming back for whatever that's worth, because I still think there's a ton of issues outside of quarterback play. But I think a lot of those same conversations that we've seen the fans kind of reacting to on Twitter and just the overall temperature, I think is relevant. The accountability talk, right? Everyone's like, who's holding who accountable in that locker room, from coaches to players to just, are we ready every week? It just doesn't look like a good product on the field when you go and watch any other football team, right? You look at us and you look at everyone else, and we just look like a bottom 32 team. We don't look good.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. They've been the lowest scoring offense in the league since Tua's been out, but There's a lot more layers there. I actually didn't have a game this week, so I watched the game on TV, and I'll tell you what, man, it's different on TV versus watching in person. That was a hard game to watch.
It was brutal. I knew it was going to be that way, though. I knew it wasn't going to be like this explosive, like, holy cow, we're going to go out there and light it up, or they were going to light us up.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor was out. Anthony Richards' first game back. Our quarterback situation, our overall offensive landscape, I knew it was going to be ugly.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd be on the other side of it, though.
It was the battle of the least ugly. It kind of felt like. It was like the battle of survival. The Colts didn't play very well either, and Dolphins still lost. Von, 2-4. I know I don't want to put you in this spot, but Von didn't play this week. He still got his hand injury.
Right.
But take me into your feel as you're watching on the sideline.
Honestly, I just think we got things to clean up. I think that's really it. And I think we've let them linger a little bit too long. I don't think it's it's like code red or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, 2-4 does not feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. But I've been in a 1-7. You know what I mean?
True.
And I've come out of a 1-7. So 2-4 is not something that shakes me, and it shouldn't shake the fans. Because it's been a long time since the Dolphins won a playoff game. So I'm sure you guys have been through a lot. But I really don't think this is something that needs to be as worrisome as it is. There are definitely things that we need to improve, especially, offense, defense, special teams, like the whole spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to bring more juice, honestly. I think that's something that we really need to do. Go out there, have more fun, celebrate, show that we're really enjoying ourselves, and trust that things are going to turn around. You know what I mean? I think that's important to keep the faith and, keep on moving, but keep the faith for sure.
The faith's there. It's always going to be there.
No,
but
definitely. I hear the concerns though. That's the thing. Like I hear the concerns, and I know it looked rough, and
I think it's just the expectations that the team had going into this year, right?
Yeah.
Sitting at 2-4 was definitely not the expectation, right? Definitely. Obviously you guys know that. We on the fan side are like, dude, like we have the best roster we've put on probably in my lifetime, and you just look at it across the board, you're like, this team is a top 5 team. Like you look at it, like it's there. All the talent is there. Obviously, we've had our adversity early in the season from just everything that's happened. But it's like when does it become an emergency, but it's like when does all these things that everyone talks about being exposed, when does it like, all right, like is there change that's needed? I'm not on the side of change. Everyone obviously continues to call for change every time something bad happens with this team. But it's like, we're going into a tough half of the schedule, right? Like this was supposed to be the easier part of the schedule. Now we're going into the latter half. That's a more difficult part of the schedule. It could get ugly, right? It could be even worse than what it is now, right? You talk about week 1 with the punch out, then you talk about the toe heel situation in the Patriots game. Like even our wins haven't been good wins. So there's clearly a ton that, like, 2-4, we're not in a terrible spot, but we haven't looked like a good team all year. And I think that's where the lack of patience is starting to come out of players, I'm sure, but also the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think through adversity, you always end up learning a bunch of lessons. So I think just putting those lessons and that adversity to work and capitalizing on the fact that we have been in these tough situations. We have been in ball games that, it's decided by an inch or 2 inches. And that's what the game is. It's a game of inches. So, if you're not capitalizing on the opportunities that you're given and they end up capitalizing on them first, then obviously you're going to find yourself in these difficult situations. A lot of the time, when you're in these problems and you're losing games like this, everybody tends to focus on, what could we fix and what could, what needs to change and what's wrong. And when doing that, sometimes you start to point things out that aren't really issues and aren't really the problem, but you think they are, and they may resemble a problem. Yeah. So you point them out and you try to change that, but now you're just getting away from who you are and what the culture is of the team. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to really take a step back and look at, what is actually the issue and how can we rectify that, not just pointing out things that are happening on the sideline. I know there was the video of Tyreek and Dub and Mike and whatnot, and they're laughing on the sideline. That's all fine and dandy, you know what I'm saying, because that's the part of the culture. But we're not going to change that. We're still going to enjoy our job, whether we're losing or winning. Absolutely. We're going to go out there, and it's not like they're not trying to, play hard, because they are, and they're doing their job at the most effective way possible. Just things aren't falling their way, and that's just the way it's going to be in sports. Somebody's got to lose, somebody's got to win. So, yeah, man, I think that's just, if you point out, small things like that and make excuses and think that you got to change everything because one thing is going wrong, you're going to end up losing yourself and losing the identity of your team. And I don't think that's what we're doing at all. I think that the team is very, very, very set on just keeping the main thing, relying on our technique, relying on our fundamentals, trusting the coaches and what they're saying and the process that they're putting us through, and going through each week one day at a time, and be able to turn it around.
Yeah, I'll say this. Vaughn obviously has to go about this season trying to win this particular game. But I'll tell you from my perspective, you watch this team and it feels like something is missing for me. Like I cover this team a lot from a media perspective, and the narrative on this team for a long time has been that they run when things are going well. When things get tight, it's a little choppy. And I think Jordan Poyer had a statement in the offseason that kind of rubbed some fans and maybe even people in the locker room the wrong way of, like, when we were with the Bills, we had a perception if you jumped on this team, they would wilt. And a lot of the reaction oftentimes when we talk to, in the media, like we talk to Mike McDaniel about some of these maybe issues there, it's maybe this is a narrative and it's there until you change it. Well, if you continue to put out this product, it's not a narrative, it's a reality. It's a reality of this team has to prove what its culture is. And that's something that I often like try to ask. You figure out, you look at a team, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know what their culture is. You know who they are. It is defined by their head coach. Mike McDaniel has a very jovial personality. We all like it, but sometimes that personality, I see it come out through the team. And in a moment like this, where your team is 2-4, you're struggling through different moments, who is going to step up and be that voice? And I do wonder if there is a level of, okay, who is going to be that person? And who is going to bring that culture? Who is going to bring that intensity to where you hold people accountable, you know how to grit out wins, you know how to get through difficult periods. And you really, as a team, take on the accountability of the top down. And so I definitely am curious to see what spark Tua brings to it, but I think it's very dangerous to have a perception that Tua fixes everything, because there are a lot of layers with this team. And when I talk to people around the league about this team, it's of a bunch of talent, but who are they, right? And like, I honestly think, and I'll just say this for me, I think that's a fair response. I think that's a fair response of like, who is this team that a quarterback can tear it all down? Who is this team, a quarterback missing for 4 weeks can tear it all down? Who is this team when you lose a couple of games and all of a sudden maybe some of your best players disappear? I think these are all real questions, and the answer only comes through the results. Like, I'm not going to put you in a position, Vaughn, where you have to answer, because I think that comes from the team results. Like, that's not something words can quantify. It's something, hey, you've got to show that through your actions. Yeah. And right now, this is a Miami Dolphins team that is sitting at 2-4, and I don't know the answer of how they get out of this hole. And I do not think it's as simple as number one's back, everything's all good.
Yeah, it's the QB issue is, I think, it covers up a lot of other issues that are going on, right? Yeah. I mean, we talked about it before we recorded, right? Week 1, we played the Jags, who haven't been a good team this year. Tua was on the field. We struggled heavily in that game with the offense too, right? So hopefully, I know Tua's been practicing pretty much all his time off that he's had. He's been still throwing. He's still been very involved. My optimism is that we'll come back and we're going to see an offense that we saw last year, and maybe that calms things down a little bit, right? Like I think that's what everyone's hope is. Yeah. But on the flip side, if that doesn't happen, it's going to get even louder, I think, in my opinion. Like,
hope is not a plan.
No. That's just me.
So I understand.
That's what gets me to turn on the game on Sunday.
Right, and I get that. And my job as a media member, I gotta sell hope, especially in training camp. We sell hope. All these teams are gonna be good. Some of y'all might not be very good. We know that, but you gotta sell hope. True. Hope is not a plan though, and I'm eager to see what that plan is going forward, what changes go forward, because I think that the refrain and the smart refrain will be, hey, there's a lot of season left to play, which is true. Yeah. 2-4 is not, as you say, you've been through 1-7, right, and you got out of it. So 2-4 is not let's sell the season. But it is a red danger point. It's not like it's copacetic. And that's why I think us in this pod, we've got to keep it real of this is a place where there's a little bit of stickiness. There's a little bit of questions. Like a lot of expectations, as you mentioned, came into the season. Just call it what it is. Dolphins paid Mike McDaniel. They paid Tua Tagovailoa. They paid Tyreek Hill. They paid Jalen Waddle. They paid Jalen Ramsey. If those are guys that you're building your core about, that's win now, right? And so if you're not winning now, who are you going to hold accountable if all the guys who are sort of the quintessential guys that you put as your core have already been taken care of? There's a reality of you pay people for what you expect for them going forward, but you also pay them believing that, hey, this is the core that's going to get us there. And I think right now I'm in a point where I don't have a lot of belief of the hope right now that this is going to turn around. Now, I hope to see it. I tell people all the time, I don't root for teams, but I love when the Miami Dolphins win because I get to stay at home. I get to stay at home for home games a lot. I get to stay with my daughter. I get to stay with my wife. I get to cover guys that I see a lot, like Jevon. That's great for me. But I have seen this kind of story a little bit, and it feels like this one's happened in September instead of December. And now it's like what's next? Who is going to be the person to change it? Because I just don't think that hope is a plan to change it.
I definitely don't think it's hope. I really think it's us responding. You know what I mean? It's us really committing to it, really taking a step into it, and getting knee deep and responding to. You don't want to focus on outside noise and whatnot, and that's never something that you want to bring in the locker room. It's more so about yourself and the commitment that you made to your team and your teammates and those around you in the organization and being successful and wanting to win games and it's honestly just putting your pride on the line and saying like I'm going to do my 111th or 153rd to make sure that I'm handling my business so that we can go out there and be successful. So, that's my perspective on it. Yeah. And I feel like if everybody has that mindset of I'm going to do my 111th or 153rd, like I said, or 1/10, because there's a bunch of people in the facility that help us be successful. Then, that's the first step to take to be successful in these games every Sunday. And we just gotta win, just win, keep the faith and just win. That's what it is.
That starts this week in Arizona because you got the Cardinals this week. And the one element of good news, as we kind of alluded through this chat, is that Tua Tagovailoa is coming out of this thing, and he's practicing Wednesday, going through the week of practice, and as long as everything goes great, which it sounds like it does, he'll be cleared and play Sunday versus the Cardinals, and it'll be 45 days removed from him from that concussion. Just a little bit of news that we've kind of learned from Tua. Tua did not consider retirement. He said there was a lot of talk we've had in this place, people on social media, of what will he do. He said that he's a football player. He decided to play football. There wasn't much of a conversation. He said he talked to his wife about it. That's it. I'm playing. He said he hadn't had symptoms since the day after. And so, I asked him specifically about the injured reserve decision, and he said it was something where the team's protecting him from himself, knowing as a competitor, he's going to want to come back to this thing.
First, I saw the video of him saying, like, I really love it to the death of him. You know what I mean? And that is the reality. Like, as much contact and injury and trauma you put your body through, there's something about the game that you just can't get rid of. You know what I mean? It's almost euphoric playing. So I 100% can understand why he wouldn't even consider stepping away, because I wouldn't consider stepping away. You know what I mean? Like any way, shape, or form to come back and play until my body's literally telling me like, yo, like there's no way we can do this, then I'm gonna play until my legs fall off. You know what I mean? So I resonate with what he said 100%. Guardian cap, it's not swaggy at all. Like, you know what I mean? It's not swaggy. He's he's got the he's probably gonna end up wearing the Axiom or something like that, like a new helmet, but I wouldn't wear the Guardian cap either. So I feel him, bro.
So let me ask you that, because a lot of reactions like, oh, well, he's choosing aura over safety. And so that's a lot of the reaction from fans on social media. Yeah. I will say on his helmet, he's wearing a Visus. I don't know if people know the Visus is like the safest quarterback helmet. He's been wearing that. And so I think some of the thought process is he's already wearing the safest quarterback helmet.
Right.
That being said, there is some thought of, hey, if there's a chance for him to get a little safer, why wouldn't he? And a lot of people are saying what you're saying of like, hey, it's not swaggy. And so he's choosing swag over safety.
Yeah, choosing aura over swag. I mean, bro, either way, it's gonna make somebody upset. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's just the reality of things. Whether he's coming out looking super swaggy in his gear or he's coming out with the Guardian cap. And I'm gonna be making jokes on him if he's wearing the Guardian cap. But that's just me. Either way, it's gonna make somebody upset. Yeah. But at the end of the day, bro, mind your business. It's his choice. He's gonna do what he wants to do. Sit back and enjoy the game. Oh, yeah. If you got comments, you can comment, do whatever you want. You got an opinion. But at the end of the day, the grown-ass man, he's going to make his decision. So he said, hey, there's no way he can be caught wearing a Guardian cap. He got to look swaggy. It just is what it is, man.
The sleeve got finished, right?
Oh, he got the double sleeve.
Right, double sleeve now?
Tough, double sleeve.
Can't come out with a cap and double sleeve.
Nah, you can't.
I thought he should wear the Guardian cap, just being my perspective. But at the same time, I'm pro-choice in everything. Like in everything of life. Including the election. I'm pro-choice. And so I'm pro-choice in everything in life. And so I am not going to criticize somebody for their choice. My personal opinion, yes, I would love for him to do everything to maximize his chance. Now, there is some info like the Guardian cap of there's some indecision of how much this actually changes the process. I think there's an assumption in the media of the Guardian cap is this end all be all. First of all, the company doesn't claim that's concussion proof. As you've mentioned, there's players who've had concussions with the Guardian. With the Guardian cap.
Right.
They say the Guardian cap and the NFL say that it decreases the impact of it. there's still questions of what that research is and the whole of it, but somebody else's choice. He decided he's not going to wear it. I think people were kind of put off about the way he said it. Personal choice, kind of was dismissive about it. Yeah. Sometimes Tua was pissed. Like Tua was frustrated.
The same way if I was him.
And knowing, and I was about to say, knowing Tua a little bit and talking to people around him, I think there's definitely a frustration of like, he got past this injury stuff. He got past the narrative.
It's behind him, bro.
And so this happens, and it's like, dang, everything from 2 years ago got to come all the way back, and now I'm the concussion guy. Now I'm the guy of like, something gonna happen 100%. To me post-career because I had another concussion from my last one 2 years ago. Right. That's his perception, and I think that he very much is frustrated, angry, and maybe even dismissive of the idea that he should be put on a spectrum that's different because he suffered another concussion. And so that's his perspective, and I think that's why you're seeing him kind of respond the way he is.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of layers of it. I think the fact that he got multiple concussions on national TV and did defensive throws. Everybody saw it and everybody saw the visuals. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people are attaching to. And I think for Tua, he said it in his line, there's risk in everything. And, I'm going to play the odds. Mm-hmm. But some people didn't like that quote, but I think that's a gladiator mentality. I think we were talking about this before. You probably have to have a different mindset to play football in the NFL.
No, you got to be partially crazy to play in the NFL. You know what I mean? This is a gladiator sport. Like we're running into humans at full speed for a living. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of bread, but for a living.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, like it's his choice, and if you don't fuck with it, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Fuck him.
Yeah,
so.
And just for clarity, like the league and the Dolphins can't mandate him to do it.
Right.
Like, it's literally his choice. It's part of NFLPA policy.
Right.
Like we talked about, whether it's a rib cage or a helmet, all those things the same. Like the Dolphins, even if Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins wanted him to wear it, you give him the options as they have. He chooses not to wear it. Yeah. Okay, he goes about his life, and that's kind of where we are. And you're either gonna watch him play football going forward, or you're not. But like that's kind of where we are at the process.
Right.
I guess the next thing I want to talk to you about, you got something.
Yeah. I want to chime in a little bit on that. So a few things. I thought the way he handled those press conferences, I thought it was amazing. Like dead ass. Like I loved seeing the confidence in him. You could see excitement like in his tone.
Yeah.
But two, I thought he brought up a lot of extremely valid points, right? I get why he's so frustrated with the media talk and this conversation and him kind of being like the poster child of this concussion talk, right? There's multiple players that have dealt with multiple concussions in the NFL. We know that, right? But something that I thought he also made was a great point, right? The hockey talk, right? Where guys playing hockey, super physical sport too. They're not talking around that, right? He's going out there. He's putting his body on the line. He knows that just like you are, just like every NFL player is. And if he wants to go out there and put his body on the line, like you said, every day there's a risk in life. And I agree with that to some capacity, right? Every day is a risk, right? And I don't think you can let fear drive any decision. If you love it and that is your life, then by all means, go out there and leave your body on the line. If that's, like you said, you're pro-choice, like that's your choice. He's a grown man. He's allowed to dictate his life and the ways he should go about things. He did everything. He talked to doctors. He spoke to everyone. And he went and he said, no, I'm going to do this because I have my team. This is my career. This is what I want to do. So I respect that tremendously, right? Because people could have handled that a completely different way. And then to just go back to like the hockey thing, right? In hockey, they have the option to wear those like neck guards, right? I don't know if you know, but a guy got sliced by a skate one year, and then
my God, I saw that.
And I think he died.
He bled out.
He bled out on the court.
Yeah, this guy literally like cut his throat. Like he was.
I think it was a college hockey game, or it wasn't an NHL game, but a guy did get cut by a skate, bled out, and then the NHL was like, oh shit, like we knew the skates were dangerous, but we didn't think that this would happen. Then it happened, and then they were like, okay, we gotta enforce something for these guys to have some sort of protection. I don't think there's one guy in the NHL that wears the neck guard.
Yeah, I've never seen
it. You give them the option and you have the choice, but at the end of the day, these guys know. Like you're playing a physical sport, it comes with the territory. Yeah. So I respect what Tua said, and I mean I'm hyped for him to be back, and I think he's carrying himself in a manner that is professional, but also authentic to who he is.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of layers with this concussion thing, and a lot of it comes that we don't know a lot about it. And I think that over the last 10 years, we've been given a lot of information, some of it scary information, because you've seen people at the very worst state. You've seen people who have committed suicide. You've seen people who have gone through these. And everybody's fear is the more concussions you get, the more that is likely.
Right.
But Tua did go traveling around to see several doctors, guys who are paid very well for this. And no doctor, none of them, told him it was not safe for him to return back to play football.
Correct.
So like that's the medical perspective.
Yeah.
Like if any of us go about a medical procedure, doctor tells us we're okay, we go upon our life, right? And so it's different for him because football and we're uncomfortable with seeing these sort of things and the visuals and all this stuff. But like there's no guarantee that Tua's life won't be perfectly normal till he's 90 years old, and he'll have a better and healthier life than someone who had never been diagnosed from a concussion but may have been hit and still suffer CTE another way. Like there's no magic science. I understand the fan perspective, the worry, but again, I'm pro-choice and he's made his choice. And I think that, yes, there's probably going to be some of us who are still a little uncomfortable if you see him take a hard hit. I think that's natural as a human, but he's doing what he is chose to do, what he's been given information to do, and let's ride, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm eager to see it. I guess last thing on Tua, what do you guys expect from him back on the field? I think one thing that was interesting, we touched on it, is that Tua mentioned he didn't think this whole thing should come apart based on one player. And I think for a lot of people, the thought is Tua's back, everything is good. What do you guys expect, and how can Tua lift the team, you know, both with his play, but also maybe with the spark that we were talking about, maybe the team needed?
I think that Tua being back and people saying that Tua's back, everything is fixed, puts a bunch of weight on Tua's shoulders. I also think that he can handle that weight. I don't think that's something that he shies away from. I don't think it's something that he's nervous about.
Agreed.
I think Tua being back it's almost like plugging your phone back in when you're driving to a new location and the Apple Play pops up on the screen. Like, you know, okay, now you see the directions. You know what I mean? Like, it's a sense of when your head guy, when, you know, the captain of your ship steps away, you know, it's kind of some disorder and whatnot. Not saying that there is, but it feels that way. And with Tua being back, the starting quarterback, the franchise guy, you know, an individual that is our captain and put on this pedestal because he is our captain, he is our starting quarterback, he is our franchise guy, he is the guy that is leading us to these victories. When he's back and you kind of put him back in place, it feels better. Everyone feels more like, okay, like we're gonna get it right. We got Tua back. Like, you know what I'm saying? That sense of missing something is gone now. You know what I'm saying? Now that Tua's back, so it's almost a feeling of like, okay, let's fix it now. Like, let's figure this out, because now that we got Tua back, everything's gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying? It's like peace of mind almost. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's two things, right? There's the leadership component, right? I think a lot of these, like, for example, all these offensive penalties we've been seeing, right? We saw it earlier in the year. We saw it in preseason. Tua will get up on you now and will tell you something, right?
Definitely.
We weren't seeing that, obviously, with these backup guys, because it's a little bit hard to be that guy when you've been in the system for 2 weeks, right?
You don't know anyone.
Exactly. So you don't have that relationship.
Right.
You don't have some of that leadership component to you. You know, you might try and say, hey, you know, but like you said, you're new. You don't know these guys. You're not going to really be able to do that. Tua's going to bring that element, right? He's going to keep these guys accountable. He's going to maybe triple check with you before the plays run that, hey, you did this in practice. Let's not make this mistake today, right? I think Tua brings that element to it. Then obviously the skill set component. The way this Mike McDaniel's offense is run requires a super high level of anticipation on some of these throws, right? One of one in this quarterback room right now that can do that. Absolutely. Reek, Waddle, their receptions are down because Tua was getting the ball out to these guys in windows that you would think no one would throw that ball, yet Tua's throwing that ball, right? Sometimes it hurts them. Sometimes, obviously, it severely helps his offense. These guys right now in the locker room or these quarterbacks right now in the locker room are not used to those throws, right? Like, that takes a high amount of time with these guys and the reps and all that they don't have. So Tua is going to be able to come in and open up the offense because he's going to make throws that we haven't been able to be seen so far in these last 4 game stretch. So there's a skill component to it, and I obviously think the leadership component is going to be huge.
I'm with you. One other thing that I think maybe people don't think about a lot, Tua's a lefty. All these other backup quarterbacks.
That's a
are
very valid
righties.
point.
Yeah.
I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that people don't understand about the offense, and at least for me when I watch it,
Mhm.
it's very clear that they're trying to inverse a lot of plays of what the offense is. That becomes difficult for everyone because your receivers have to do different things.
Mhm.
You know, the quarterback has to do different things, and watching film of how Tua does it versus someone else.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like it was off. And again, they build offense around one person.
That's a great point.
I'm not sure if there's something in the offseason they can tweak to make that a little bit more easy for a backup, because there's just not a lot of lefties in the league that have as backups.
Mhm.
But this particular period, it just felt like the disconnect that may have been a part of it. Lefty quarterback, you catch the ball differently. You mentioned the cadence, you mentioned the timing, but I think that has a factor in it as well.
sure.
So
I mean, even the ball spins differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it is quite a drastic difference when a lefty throws it as opposed to a righty. I mean, the ball, the way that it falls, the way that it flies off the hand of the quarterback.
True.
Like even his positioning and how he can see the field and how he can change his throwing angle based on where the safety is. Like a lot of the time, you see quarterbacks when they drop back that are right-handed, they like to throw to their right, and it's easy for them to make a throw going from their left to their right because they don't have to change the angle as much with their shoulder.
Yep.
But going from their right to their left, they have to open their shoulder up more. And a lot of our routes, they bang back in. So and because Tua's a left-handed quarterback, you know, a lot of the offense probably leans to his left because left to right so that he can open these throws up, or right to left, and it blends that way to him. So for a quarterback that's right-handed and to basically do everything opposite, you're almost having to play like with a left-handed mindset to play but right-handed. So it makes things a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing on the Tua situation, because I think I'm just curious, clarity-wise, you've been through the concussion process before, haven't you?
Mhm.
For people at home, and maybe even for me, like, what does that look like? Like even the basic of like, what is a concussion test?
Yeah,
You know,
that's a
because
good question.
we were
Yeah.
talking and thinking, I'm like, even the basic element of like how you get back.
Right.
You know, Tua obviously is a little different because he has 45 days to go through his, and he hasn't had symptoms. But like when you went through your process, what did that look like?
Yeah, so I was about 1 week. It was last year against the Eagles. Me and David Long had ran into each other in a big collision. So really the concussion protocol is like you're in it, you take a test, the concussion test, and a lot of it is like shapes and remembering the shapes and the way that they are, words, phrases, numerical order, and like almost like a cognitive memory test in a way, because they want to make sure you're sharp. You know what I mean? You want to make sure you're sharp. You want to make sure you can remember things in short periods of time. And that's kind of like the basic gist of that. And then you kind of get into like running and whatnot. And as you run, if you say you go out and you run outside or you walk outside or jog, and if you don't get any headaches, any pain or anything like that, you come back in, you know, okay, you're trending in the right direction. But the problem with concussions is that one concussion, like it'll go away, right? And you'll feel good. The symptoms won't linger, but you're still kind of in like a hot period, you know, like a week after or a day after. Like, you know, you get a concussion and a couple days after, even though you don't have any symptoms, you're still at risk of getting concussion again if you hit your head because you had just gotten one. So that's kind of the reason why a lot of the times you guys miss the next game, because you have to take time to just relax. And it's almost like with any other injury, you know, you roll your ankle and your ankle hurts, and then the next day, a couple days later, it doesn't really hurt that much, but it's weak and it's inflamed, but it doesn't hurt. So you run on it and you might put it in the same position. You hurt it again, you might hurt it even worse because it was already compromised.
Right.
So you got to give it more time to rest. But yeah, concussion tests are kind of just like a cognitive memory test. Feeling okay when you run and balance and stuff like that. And then balance, like balancing with your eyes closed, you know, going like this and touching your nose. Kind of feels like a sobriety test, low key. But not like it's nothing too difficult. But they're just, you know, they kind of take a long time and they get boring, and that's kind of the worst part about them. But it is important. It is important, and it's essential. So
That's interesting.
Interesting.
I was curious. I guess on injuries, where are you with your hand? 2 weeks from
surgery.
right?
Smooth. This is my first surgery, like I said last time. So just trying to, you know, get the dexterity back and like, you know, the strength in my finger. But my hand feels great. You know, it's healing great. Everybody said it's doing very well. So I'm excited about this week. Don't know yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, just keeping this glove on, like, yeah, just no, literally, I feel like Mike Jack, bro. Like everywhere I go, people are like, bro, what's up with that? I'm like, bro, Don't even touch my hand. Yeah. Like falling asleep now, I just like fall asleep, hand is already up. I don't even have to put it on the little thingy. Yeah. So, but nah, yeah, it's all good. It's all swelling's going down. I'm starting to see the back of my hand again because it was swollen. Sutures are out. It's feeling good. Nice able to be able to like, put a glove on and massage it and whatnot. But
how's the shoe tying?
Shoe tying is still a little hard. Yeah, I gotta tie shoes with like my ring finger and like my middle finger. What else is hard? Opening the shower gel, like body wash cap, that's kind of hard too. Yeah. That's why I went and got the little squirty one. But yeah.
So, absolutely. Yeah. You were catching passes at practice towards the end of the week.
I mean, I only need one hand to catch. You see me snag a couple. Yeah, I'm just saying, man. Like, hey, I can still catch picks. It ain't no problem, man. I'm probably not gonna be punching with this hand that much. If I club it, yeah. But if I leave the fingers out, I probably won't be punching. But I still catch pick though.
Yeah. Did you have any realistic chance, or you knew pretty early on that you weren't gonna play last week?
No, I knew early on. Yeah, I knew early on. It was really just wanting to make sure it doesn't get infected. Cause that's like the biggest threat.
True.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure it was straight. But it healed up very nicely. Cocoa butter, guys. If you don't know cocoa butter, look, it moisturizes your skin. I know a lot of people don't get ashy or don't know that they're not ashy, but cocoa butter will heal scars. And a little vitamin E. You got a scar, vitamin E tablet, rub it on there, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, your skin color is going to come back, everything's going to be all good. So vitamin E tablet, that's a little gift from my household to your household. Go ahead.
That's some good info.
Yeah.
Let's get a little bit into how the fellas are doing. We got our football, we got all that out.
Yeah.
So got to check in on how you're doing, everybody. How's Cam? I know your hand's healing, but how you doing?
I'm good, man. You asked that how you doing question. I watched a clip on IG. We ask the question all the time, how you doing? And I think everybody's natural reaction is say I'm good.
Right.
And even when you said that, I quickly said I'm good. Like, I didn't even think about it. I say I'm good. But like as you really think of how you're doing, life goes through like kind of ups and downs through mental spaces. Mm-hmm. And like I think one thing that I'm always not as good about is you look at your life and you live a really good life. Like I got a really good job.
Right.
I got a great family. I'm doing well financially. Like I check a lot of pictures that a lot of people have, but you still go through like ebbs and flows of days in life where like, man, like I'm just not feeling like myself or natural.
Feel that.
No doubt.
And so like, at certain points this weekend, I was like, like I was off this weekend. I got to watch football. I got to hang out with my daughter. Like a lot of things, but like there were certain things where like I couldn't explain why. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't fully in the mental space that I wanted to be. So working through some of that, but I feel like I'm on a trend up of where I want to be. And so yeah,
I feel that.
That's good, man.
I think when you're stuck so much like in the rat race of life, you don't really get a chance to really sit and think about it. It was like when you hurt your hand, you said it best, like it made you start realizing, all right, wait, I can't play golf. So that was my escape. Right. No, I'm not playing golf. So I'm just sitting here and I don't really know. And then everything just starts coming up in the mind and you're like, all right, I gotta check some things out. I've been like same thing, like, things are good, everything's rolling well. But sometimes something just feels a little off, right? And you gotta recalibrate, test out what that is. Like for a long time, I was meditating like every day, right? Mm-hmm. And I saw the benefits that did for me, like just like overall being, right? Like when things weren't going well, I still felt good, right? Because I just knew I was like in balance, I guess you could say. But I haven't been doing that, and I could already just feel like that shift, like something's off, and we got to do. All of us, like everybody, we all got to do a better job of like just tuning in and seeing what's going on inside and really kind of evaluate how you're doing, because sometimes we think you're like you said, if someone asks you, yeah, how you doing? I'm doing good. But reality is you're like, maybe I'm really not doing that good. I got to figure out what's going on inside. So yeah, I feel you 100% on that.
I saw, again, I'm pulling IG. I watch a lot of IG videos, TikTok videos.
Do be on Facebook.
But there's an IG video of like DC Young Fly doing an interview, and DC Young Fly lost like his partner a while back, and so he was talking about just kind of like a stages of life, and he was like, sometimes you feel like the chef, and he was like, things are going on in life, but everybody's hungry, and they're coming to you for a plate. You got to keep making plates, and it's like it doesn't matter if you want to sit down and eat, because you got to keep cooking. Mm-hmm. You got to keep cooking. And sometimes life feels like that. Like you said, it's a constant, like you just got to keep, you don't have time to just sit back and be like, what is that one thing that kind of feels like a disconnect? Because I gotta do this. I gotta prep this. I gotta do this for my job. I gotta make sure my family's good for this. I'm cooking. I gotta keep cooking for everything of life that I don't really have. Like, so like something feels off, but I don't have time to figure out what that is, why that is, and how to fix it because of that. And so that hit me, that video in particular. And that kind of, I think, feels like how I go through different periods of like, I'm maybe not fully okay, but like I can't describe it and I got to keep going regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it's just sometimes you just got to take a moment and just like sit back. Like, what really is pissing me off? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, something's off. It's like, but what is it?
Exactly. Like, there's no reason why like this should make me as angry as I am right now. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I just little shit like that, man. Like when I was in college, I never wanted people to like our strength coaches. They would always be like, "Oh man, you know, like come on, let's go," like all rah rah and shit. I'm like, bro, I don't need none of that. Like I don't need none of the fake energy, none of the fake motivation. Like I got all that in me already. Like I'm cool. Like I don't need none of that. So I got people who reach out to me sometimes and just like say things that like piss me off. But then I ask myself like, why is this really pissing me off? Like what about it is making me so angry that I get to the point where like I don't even want to talk to this person no more. You know what I'm saying? At the time. So that like something like that happened over the weekend and somebody had said like, man, just like, you know, don't come back until you're ready. Like, don't let him force you to come back. And that made me angry because like I'm a grown ass man. Like I'm doing this thing. I'm gonna come back when I want to come back. Like I'm not letting no one else is telling me to do something that I don't want to do. Like I'm doing it on my own and I know that I'm good. You know what I mean? So but it wasn't the fact that they said that. It was the perception that I was doing something that I didn't want to do and I was being forced to. When in reality, like I love what I do and I'm enjoying myself. So I just had to figure out like why that made me mad. And it wasn't the person that said it. It wasn't it wasn't them saying it. It was just the implication that I was being seen in a way that I didn't want to be seen in. So that's kind of why I ended up getting upset. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, can't complain. A positive point of this weekend, my neighbor has a kitten, right? And he texted me, yo, bro, like I got this kitten for my daughter. She's not fucking with the kitten at all. So, you know, I got two cats. I got Rocco and Remy, right? Rocco is a Russian blue or a domestic gray cat that looks like a Russian blue. And then Remy is a black stray cat that my girlfriend had before we met. She had like rescued her off the street and whatnot when she was really small. So boom, my girlfriend moves in. She brings Remy. Then we end up getting Rocco like a couple months later. So there's been this white cat that is running around in front of my house that I can't catch. And my girlfriend's like, every time I walk outside, I see it and it disappears. So then my neighbor texts me this weekend and he's like, yo, bro, I got this cat. It's a tabby. I don't know what the other name. It's like, he looks like a tiger because it got stripes. It's a tabby. Like, my daughter does not fuck with the cat. Like, do you want the cat? I'm like, let me text my girl. So I text Amanda. I'm like, oh, like, send her the picture. She's like, who is this lovely cat? How can I make her mine? I'm like, this Rob, like, go check it out. Immediately, she texts me. She's like, he's coming back with us. I'm going to get all the stuff he needs. So now I got 3 cats.
Oh, wow. Damn.
I got 3 cats.
Household got bigger this weekend.
Bro, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, I wanted, if I was going to get another animal, I either wanted a dog or like an orange cat. Because orange cats are always seen as like crazy and do a bunch of funny stuff. So I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to have a comic relief cat. Bro, he's literally that. We named him Toji. He's literally, bro, he does like little weird stuff. He'll climb on top of the toilet and like try to push the flush. Like, yeah. But so we got another cat. Cool guy. And you don't really even notice. You'll never see them all 3 together. The only time was like last night and they were all sitting around each other. But like other than that, you'll see one cat walking around and the other 2 will be hiding somewhere.
I was about to ask you that. Like, do cats get along?
Yeah, cats get along, but it's like you gotta have a right mix. Like because Toji's a guy, and then Rocco, who's the middle child now, Rocco's a guy, and Remy's like the distant one. Remy and Toji, like they low key vibe, and Rocco and Toji play together, but Rocco and Toji with Remy around, Rocco like tries to like big bro Toji. Bro, it's complex. It's complex. But Remy and Rocco do not fuck with each other at all.
Oh wow.
And really, Remy don't fuck with Rocco. Rocco always tries to like play. Low-key like big dogs because he's big. He's fat now. He's like 13 pounds. So he's like on top of her and stuff. She'll like try to scratch him and shit. So Remy really don't fuck with Rocco. But yeah, Toji's loved all around from everybody. So that's good. I was worried about that because he's so small right now. But hopefully he grows up and he ends up being big as fuck and just like bullies both of them. Don't tell Amanda I said that. Don't tell Amanda I said that. So a lot of people were wondering how us three got together. I mean, this is kind of an odd bunch, an odd trio. But yeah, I mean, well, I'll start with me and Dre first.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll start with me and Dre first. I think it was on Instagram.
Mhm.
Did I DM you or did you guys DM
Yeah,
me?
no, yeah. You sent me a DM through your Quick Draw Jev account,
Right.
which I had just started following like either 2 days before. Like I was fresh to the Quick Draw Jev. I didn't know about it.
Right.
And then I remember getting the DM and being like, Quick Draw Jev, I'm pretty sure this is Jev's like other account.
Yeah.
And then you had replied to one of my posts about golfer, I think it was. And then you were asking like where I played. And I was telling you a bunch of like Miami courses, but I'm like, bro, I'm pretty sure he doesn't like live down here. So like, let me see what other courses are up north that I've played before. So I sent you a list of those. And then we were like, do you want to go play?
Yeah, and then we literally went out, played. I was trash. I think I had.
No, so
Did you bring left-handed clubs?
Yeah, so you hit me up saying like, yo, I think I'm lefty,
right?
But I don't have any lefty clubs. Can you bring me lefty clubs? So I went to my boys at Planet Golf, and they were like, yeah, we got lefty clubs. I'll give you a couple and just take them out there for him to use. So I was like, all right, perfect. So he goes there, he's swinging the lefty clubs. Like probably we only played 9 that day. I think like 3 or 4 holes in, he's like, nah, I'm righty, bro. So he started swinging the righty clubs.
Yeah, because I already had like a Cobra set. It was like a starter kit. Yeah. My dad bought me like some top flight, like Dick's Sporting Goods, trash clubs. But the intention was there, Dad. Appreciate that. So I went and upgraded and got some Cobra. Yeah, appreciate it, Dad.
You should know more.
Appreciate it, so I went and bought some Cobra. I'm like, Cobra starter kit or whatever. Boom, go buy them some blue ones. They were cool. And I was using those. I think they were like regular stiffness or something.
Probably.
I had no idea about none of the facts behind golf at the time. So I went over and I started using those ones. I was like right-handed, and I started hitting the ball well. I was hitting it well, and I'm right-handed in most things, except for like stick sports. So lacrosse, baseball, hockey, golf. I'm a lefty. So it took me a little while to figure out like what hand I was.
Yep.
But yeah, so I started golfing right-handed, and I was okay. Ended up playing 9 holes, and I was whooped after that. Like I was hella tired.
Yeah. Golf is a draining sport.
Bro,
People don't realize.
It took me like maybe 4 or 5 times to go 9 holes to like start pushing it like 9 holes. Then I went like 13. Then I went 18. First time I went 18 was at Davie Golf Club like this past off season. And after I did it, I was like, whew, like, all right, I need a nap. Like, all right. But nah, that was, I think that's how we met.
Yeah,
and
that's how
after
it
that,
started. And then we just kept playing golf, hung out a couple other times, and then, yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
So you slid into his DMs. And...
Whoa. There was no sliding. Nah. No sliding in. He was talking about golf. I was like, yo, y'all golf? Like, what's the golf, you know what I'm saying, golf scene? That's actually fucking crazy that you did that. That's actually crazy. Nah, that's actually crazy. No, that's actually crazy. There was no sliding. I was like, oh, shit, bro. Like,
you just stepping in them?
But no, his golf game though, for real, like dead ass.
That's crazy.
For 1 year of playing,
yeah,
I know people that have been playing way longer, and they are nowhere near as good.
For sure.
I'm not gonna say who, but he's a guy that we've played with a couple times.
Nah. Guy's got a weird ass setup at the tee. Nah, facts. And then me and you, Cam. I mean, you've worked with the team for a while, so we've kind of just been mutual friends. Said what's up, whatnot. I remember commenting on some shoe game that you had. You had the 6 rings on like 2 years ago, the Jordan 6 rings, and I was like, damn. No, I'm just playing.
You know I ain't got no 6 rings. I was gonna let you sell
that
line for a little bit.
I was like,
you can say a lot about me. Don't be saying I got no 6 rings on.
6 rings got to be. If you got 6 rings on.
Oh my goodness.
Yo. Yeah. You got no one around you that love you if you got 6 rings on.
My wife was asking me recently, she was like, why can't you just go into Foot Locker and buy Jordans?
Not the same.
I took a deep breath.
Not the same, bro.
Those are not the Jordans.
It's not the same.
These days, you cannot go in Foot Locker and get no good retro Jordans. Those are going to be 6 rings. They're going to be Team Jordans.
You will be getting clowned on if you wear 6 rings. So my second year, Philip Lindsay was on the team. And he had like no idea about shoes for real. He was just like rocking the shoes.
Yep.
Pulled up to our game and he was wearing 6 rings. So me and homies, I was like year 2. Me and homies like, Phil, like, why you got those on? He's like, what you mean, bro? The Jordans. Like, we like, fam, you don't know about the 6 rings. Let me give you some game. That was the last time I seen him wear those.
Yeah.
Last time.
Someone had to tell him.
Got to.
Bro.
Got to.
But
so yeah, we've known each other. I've known you since you got drafted essentially.
Right.
And so we built a relationship obviously through like professional relationship, but then we started to bond off the field.
Yeah.
And then we started golfing, I think probably a year ago, maybe a little less than that.
A year ago.
Yeah. And so we started golfing, and the pod idea literally came on the golf course.
Right.
We all connected through like
Facts.
we all like really got this pod started on the golf course.
Golf makes the world go round.
We talked about it this summer. We came up with it, and it's one of those things where you just bring an idea and you're like, this sounds good in theory. And then we started to go through the steps of making it reality. And then Dre got involved, and then we all put it together. We all went on the golf course. One of our first interactions together, played together, made sure we did a vibe check. Everybody vibing with each other. It was good.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we basically
even the name came out on the last time we played.
Yeah,
like, the
facts,
concept
on the
was
course.
built, and then I remember I'm there at the range, and then I hear you say, "What about Breakin House Rules?" And I remember,
facts.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, bro. We had like a whole Google Doc of like 30 names.
Didn't
bro.
use not
We
one
didn't
of
use
them.
not one of them.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and I think one night I was just like, I don't know how it came up. I was just like, I wonder if this works. And so I'm gonna just like cold drop this on the fellas.
We
and
really
all
had
vibe with it.
30 some names on
we
that
did.
Google Doc.
Yeah. And every time I would read them, I'm like, these are good, but they're not it.
They just
Not
didn't
it.
hit. They just didn't hit. But when you said Breaking House Rules, I was like,
It hit.
you might be honest.
Yeah, and it's unique. Nobody else has that name.
True.
So,
We were basically doing this on the golf course, like
yeah,
just shooting
Facts.
shit. So
yeah, and that's what we want to bring to y'all. Like, we want to bring the real conversation.
Right.
Obviously, football is a connecting point, so we're talking about football, but we're also talking about life. We're talking about, mental health. We're talking about golf. Like, all of that is what we want to bring in our space, our platform, be able to have the freedom to talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about.
Hey, man.
definitely.
Well,
Facts.
glad we're doing it.
And Dre, obviously, you're the fan perspective.
Yes.
In this, and I think for a lot of people at home, they're fans, so they relate to you even more than Vaughn or us because they are you. You know, they're living through you. You're getting to
They're
be
the most
a part of this
opinionated,
space,
too.
and they have a lot to say. And so, because of that, this is why we do this thing, right?
Oh, yeah. So we're going to get into a couple questions that came in. Going to go in order before we do the giveaway.
Right.
We got our winning question here,
That's
too.
clean, bro.
It is
That's
We got some fresh new gear.
Yeah,
you
it
know
is
what I'm
nice.
saying?
It's got the little throwback.
This is the
logo.
throwback, and I know fans love the throwback.
They love
the
throwback.
throwback gear.
That logo. Is
I'm gonna put it out there right now. I know a lot of you guys ask me all the time
Mhm.
what my favorite. The throwbacks are definitely my favorite.
the best uni.
Throwback green is my favorite. You got the jersey on right now.
I do got the white jersey on.
Throwback green is my favorite jersey, my favorite uni. The throwback white is my second favorite, and then all aqua. So if you guys got questions about that, we'll talk about that another time. But
There it
Nah,
is.
that logo's clean.
and it's got the number in it too. Official.
Ooh, that's
official-
clean.
Official
That's
game merch.
hard.
Never been worn.
Yeah.
Never been worn.
Straight from Timu.
That's that.
Nah, but that's a great gift, and we're gonna have giveaways throughout the pod throughout the season. And so
100%.
definitely want y'all to stay engaged. Questions on YouTube, IG,
Facts.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Let us know what you want to hear about.
Yeah, so let's get into, I guess, third place question.
Mm-hmm.
If a snowman eats a snow cone, is it considered cannibalism?
I mean, I feel like it would only be cannibalism if the snow cone came from another snowman. Because if
It's
it
valid.
didn't, because I think snowmen got to be in snow,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise they're not going to be able to be. They're not going to be able to exist, right? So if there's snow around and they're
Exactly.
moving and they're gaining snow
Mhm.
from the ground, like think if you rolled a snowball and
Yeah.
it grows, so then he's just adding onto his body. So if he just scoops up some, you know what I'm saying, throw some. Because when I was a kid and living in Canada, we used to scoop our snow up and then put like Pepsi or put like a soda in it,
Yeah.
and he eats it. Then like, is that him being a cannibal?
So obviously the reference is based off of your nickname being a snowman.
Yeah, of course.
I think it is cannibalism. And so I will say this because I made the reference to us offline. If you're a chicken, because I'm looking at this in like simplistic terms out there. If you're a chicken and you eat fried chicken, that to me is still cannibalism. Even if it's not you, even if you don't know the chicken.
Agreed.
True.
And it's a different form because at this point it's already been dead and cooked, but it's still a version of you. And so that's
I got to rebuttal that, but go ahead.
But yeah, I agree with that, but artificial snow, right? You got those snow machines.
Mm.
If the snow cone is made from one of those, then it's definitely not cannibalism. That's not snow.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I wasn't even.
It has to be. So you had a point where it's the snow. I agree
Right.
with that, but I agree with you too. Like it's still snow. Then yeah,
fried
probably.
chicken was once a live chicken.
Yep.
I'm not a rapper. Fried chicken was once a live chicken, right? But then it's fried. So it was a living being and then it was fried. A snow cone wasn't necessarily previously a snowman. You feel me? So if he just eats some snow, it wasn't previously alive. That means it wasn't snowman flesh. You feel me? Because when you eat fried chicken, it's chicken.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Chicken
That was going to be
flesh,
my
you know?
next point. Is that
You feel
considered flesh? If it's not considered flesh, then it would technically not be cannibalism, based off the definition.
But if we're saying all snow is potential snowman flesh because they do
I think that's what it comes down to.
Right, because that's what you're made of.
Right, like if you make the snowball,
right,
you're just scooping
I'm made out of water, but drinking water is not cannibalism.
That's a good point, but you aren't a water
You're
man.
not made
You're not a water man.
Yeah, like you literally have to scoop snow together.
Like a snowman is 100% snow. Like that
100%.
That is the only base
maybe like
that it
98% snow, 1% carrot, and then like 1% rock.
Dirt. There's a little bit of dirt.
A little bit of dirt, but still though, like
I feel like it's
valid.
cannibalism.
This is a little bit too much detail about snowman. But I mean, it is a valid question.
Hey, these are the type of questions we like here at Breakin House
number
Rules.
3.
And that's why I got on, you know? So,
all right, let's get into the next one, which is who should vote for postseason awards? I think that's a very valid question.
I'm gonna start. Me personally, I think it should be coaches and players. Mainly coaches, GMs, front office, because I feel like media will have favorites and they'll push the favorites because they want to be correct. Which is nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with them wanting to be correct. But
blame the media.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Cam Smith was already like,
I mean, y'all blame us for everything. No, but for real though, I think a lot of the time, like especially with Associated Press, like there's only like 32. There's not a lot of people on that. So if they like a player and they like his game, but somebody else did some better shit, and that person had met the player beforehand, he was like, nah, bro, like I'm not really fucking with you at the time. So now he got something against that player, even though he balled. Yeah. And he gonna vote for the player he likes, even though he didn't play as good as, you know what I'm saying? So I think that it could be very opinionated. Front office and head coach and coaches, a lot of the time, they just know ball. And they're the trained eye, you know what I mean? They gotta bring these players in to be on their team. They coach, they know ball, the baselines of ball, and the intricate details. They see the stats that don't show up on the stat sheet. And those sometimes are, some of the most defining plays. Like you won't even notice if you're just an untrained fan and you're an untrained eye. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think it should be front office and head coach and coach.
What do you think?
All right, so I got to defend the media. Nobody defends the media. It's all fake news out here that we're spewing, apparently. I will say that my vote is obviously, I think the media should have a voice. I don't think it has to be 100%. I'm fine with giving players, coaches, and executives some voice. I know it gets a lot of criticism. I actually don't have a problem with how the Pro Bowl vote goes about. Right. It's usually a third of fan, third of players. Third of media, and then third of coaches and executives, right? I probably would skew it a little bit. I'd probably take some from the fans and maybe give a little bit of that to the players. Because the fans, like, let's just keep it real. A lot of times y'all gonna vote for y'all favorite players, like your favorite teams. And that, your high market teams, your Cowboys, your Steelers, your Packers, a lot of those guys have an advantage because of that. I will defend us because I will say that, like, for us reporters, I think it's different, and I hear what you're saying. I think we all have unconscious bias. I know I have bias in some respect, but I think the bias is probably a little harder on, like, your analysts, your commentators. The people who I think should have the votes and who do in the AP polls are the media, like the reporters, the people who watch the game. The reason why I would hesitate on the players is because, here, look, you guys play a game Sunday at 1:00. Right. You are not watching the Cardinals play the Seahawks this afternoon. Like, it's not happening. So you don't know what Budda Baker did. You don't know what they did out there on the field.
You're right.
And I've seen y'all vote for the top 100.
And
again, I just don't know how much care there is from players and like I'm going to really figure out who the best player is in this particular spectrum. They do know more than us on like the details. So like you're talking to an offensive lineman, he's probably going to give you a better answer of who the best lineman in the league is if he really watches.
I was just thinking that. Maybe you just do specific positions. Because if you have everybody vote on their specific position,
I like that.
they're going to be honest and true. Like,
Yeah.
they're not going to put themselves at one if they know that somebody else is better than them. They're going to be honest about it.
Yeah.
So if players did vote, and, you know, there is some part of, like, for the top 100, they know that, oh, yeah, this is BS, whatever. Like, we're just going to vote. And put your homeboys or your favorite players or whatever on there. Yeah, okay. But if they actually knew, like, hey, this is actually going to be for, you know, the top X players in your position, let's vote and let's see, like, where you put yourself and where you put these other players. And I feel like that would actually carry some weight and guys would actually pay attention to that.
I hear you too.
Yeah.
I hear you. I think that's fair. I think they're definitely. I think the balance is right.
Yeah.
But you know, don't kill the media, man.
Yeah, you're right. I'll give y'all grace. Like, I definitely am thinking of, like, the analysts, because analysts nowadays, they just be saying
Outlandish.
whatever.
Yeah. And I get that. Like I said, even us, there is some bias. And I definitely for the analysts of like, hey, if this is not my guy, certain people hints their horse to this guy. And so they're going, you know, they're going to go against Dak anytime that Dak doing something, right? Or vice versa. But I think the reporters who like truly watch, like I feel like I watch a lot of games, not all of it. I'm not gonna pretend I watch 16 games a week, but I feel like I watch a decent amount of like tape to be able to give a perspective, an unbiased perspective of who the awards are.
Would you say that, and just shifting a little bit, would you say that you know ball?
I would say I know a level of ball, but I'm not gonna pretend I have the same level of knowledge that you do. And so I'm always careful of that. Like I played ball to a certain level growing up, like high school. And so I feel like I know the insides of sports and I feel like I watch enough to know sport, but I'm always asking questions because I don't want to pretend that I know everything. Like I know coverages, but I don't want to pretend that I know who blew that coverage and know that I just based off, they look like they were in cover 6. So that means that it's a safety and this, like, I may know the base of that, but I don't know for sure. So I think I know probably more ball than 95% of people, but there's probably still a 5, and most of NFL players are in that 5.
Yeah,
that
I like
know
that.
more ball than me,
I like that.
You know?
I like that's valid.
Yeah.
What about you? You think you know ball?
Similar to him, he probably knows more ball just because he's around it more. Right. You know, especially that I haven't even been around it, like from like game planning or anything like that in so long. So yeah, very surface level. I try to ask as many questions as possible too, just to learn. But yeah, no, I mean, I know enough. More than the common fan, but still very down the totem pole.
No, definitely. I was just curious.
Yeah. All right, last question, which is our winner, and it is: what is the cultural significance of sports?
Yeah,
it's a good question.
That's a great question. It's a great question. I think there's a lot of what sports does, and I think we had said this before about sports being an escape for people. You know, like an everyday life, something that they can hold on to, be a part of a community. But I also think, you know, in personal experience, sports is really about being, you know, having role models and things to strive for in life. If it's not, you know, the basics of I want to have a good job and I want to, you know, have a family and live for, you know, you want to be like somebody and you grow up and, you know, dedicating time and effort and skill into something, you know, as intricate as sports. For my example, it's football. And you grow up seeing these individuals have success and you want to be just like them. And a lot of time that, you know, North Star, whether it be attainable or not, you know, pushes you far enough or far to the point where you can be in a position to make a decision. Like, am I going to continue to do this, or am I going to see that my future in this is not that far, and I am comfortable and okay with not reaching that goal that my role model was, but shifting my thought process and putting it into something more effective. You know what I mean? Instead of just kind of not being motivated about anything and not even having a drive. So I think, you know, having a role model, I think that's what, you know, sports does for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, that's real. I think for me, I think about people that look like us, you know, minority people, particularly those coming from like lower income areas. To me, escape is a great word because like for a lot of us that are, you know, black or brown, this has been the way out, you know, and what jobs have seemed attainable for people in different communities haven't been attainable for all of us. And so for a lot of people, their aspirations for growing up, maybe, hey, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be this and that. For a lot of people in our communities, that may not have ever been attainable. how are we going to get the money for college? How are we going to get the money for medical school and law school? I've never seen anybody in my community who's ever done that, right? But I seen the one dude 2 years ago who made it to the league. He might have only lasted a year, but he made it there, you know? And so like that's a vision. And for that person, they know if I work my butt off, if I play as well as I can, then I can get my way there. I can get a free scholarship to get into school. I can get to the league and play this sport and provide for my family, provide for my community. Sports does that in a way that nothing else does. And I think that it's also, it brings a lot of us together in different perspectives. Like some of my best friends in life, we've connected over a favorite sports team. And that literally is the only thing. Just because we decided to root for the same team and we've shared that bond and we've started to learn more about each other and we've connected. A lot of us as men, it's hard to find natural relationships, especially as adults, that you find as friendships. Like we talked about this. We started this pod all through the sport of golf. It's a different sport. It's completely like we're all talking primarily football in this sport, but a different sport is what created the thing of the pod. So I think that's just the power of sports. I think it's a certain energy, a certain level of being a part of something that is greater than yourself that I think feels something that we as men love. And women too. There's a lot of women who are watching out here, watch sports, who feel the same thing. But that happens through every sport, you know, WNBA, NFL, golf, like whatever it is, there's a certain connection that sports brings.
Yeah.
I think I'll just add a little bit to it, but I think sports, when you just look at it from soccer, football, basketball, baseball, everything, right? Golf, it's a global component to it, right? I mean, you're seeing the stretch now with football, going to Brazil, going to London, Germany, right? Mexico, all these different places. But you just look at sports as a whole, it's probably the largest platform that exists in the media landscape. Obviously, you have movies and you have this, but when you have the component of the talent, right? You have the component of the media, you have the component of the fans, but there's an either deeper layer to this, right? It's the operational side, right? To run a professional team, there are a ton of people that work from the marketing side to the ops side to the player side, that to get into your point, right? Some of these people in these underprivileged communities never had a chance maybe to play in the NFL or the MLB, whatever it is. But guess what? You might be able to work at a front office now, right? And more of these opportunities are coming up where you're saying, hey, we got to represent these minority, neighborhoods more, right? Yeah. Because there's a ton of talent there. And there's opportunities where, hey, I see someone that's done it. Now I create that belief that I can do it too. Yep. So for me, sports is just like, it's a platform. And what you're able to accomplish with that platform because of the mass reach that it has, it's motivating for a lot of these kids. I think that's really the biggest thing.
I love it. That's why it was our number one question.
Yeah, that was great.
It's a lot of layers.
No, it's good.
So what's on the surface feels like a simple question.
Right. I think you hit it on the head, man. I think like just from the perspective of trying to get to college, like say you want to be a doctor and you know, but you're good at ball, right? Whatever type of ball it is, you're like, look, I don't want to go pro. Because I played with homies that are like, I don't like football. Yeah. I'm just using it to kickstart my life. Sure. Because where else can you make this type of money playing a kid's game? Right. You know what I'm saying? We're playing a kid's game for a king's ransom. So, guys get to college and they're on full ride scholarships. College paid for. No debt, none of that. They're getting paid to be there. They're getting paid to play. They might not even see the field, but they're there all 4 years, working hard, and they're taking care of their school and they're taking care of their business, and then they end up going to grad school or they end up going to get their doctorate. You know what I mean? So going to law school, like just using it as a springboard to start your life. I mean, I know homeboys that ended college with no debt and now they're just working and they're just stacking their bread now, and they're just working and living, and they're starting families and whatnot. But it's literally just about putting yourself in the best position possible to be successful. And in today's economy, I mean, you need all the help you can get.
Hell yeah.
Eggs like $12 now. That's crazy, bro.
Mike, hey man, do we need 4 eggs for this scrambled egg? Can we do it with 3?
Prices, hey, milk getting expensive, all that getting expensive. So I digress, but yeah, man, I think sports does so much for people, especially just like it's a euphoric feeling when your team wins. People scream over sport. You know what I mean? Like you people do things for. I just seen something on Twitter. People dress up in these crazy ass fits, go to the games. They're every week on the dot in the same seat, and you know what I'm saying?
Thousands of dollars they spend, thousands of hours that people spend across just rooting for something they have no control over, but they have hope.
Those are the colors. Exactly.
Hope sells.
Way to tie it back.
Way to tie it back.
Hope sells, like you said.
Hope sells. Hope sells.
Hope sells, man.
So we will get you your gear for that winning question. Shout out to you.
Facts.
And bring questions like that, and maybe you can get.
That was great. We're gonna
that
have.
was a good question.
We're gonna have a bunch of giveaways. We might have tickets to games, like you know what I'm saying.
Get crazy out here.
Outings, you know what I'm saying. Get right.
Yeah, for sure. Keep it tuned. We're wrapping towards the end of this thing, but one thing I wanted to do, we often do the Howling with the Wolf segment. Oh, we're not gonna do that this episode because I wanted to translate it to something different. What did he say? You know, what he said that. There's a lot of stuff that we hear like through the world sports that are like, wait, what happened?
Right.
What was said there? And I want us to react on a few of those things this week. And so I want to start off with this. You know, Bay Area man, you know, just like Vaughn here, Najee Harris coming off a big win from the Steelers. He's doing his post-game press conference, you know, a bunch of media in the room. He goes about and he's answering questions, and all of a sudden Brandon Marshall, who does I Am Athlete, who used to play in the league as a receiver, starting to ask a question. Najee Harris says,
You was running possess tonight, bro.
Oh shit! Shut up, my nigga. Oh, shut up, my nigga.
and you see his face. He realizes, dang, this was not the right
He's like,
setting. This
Wrong
is
place.
not the right setting, you know. And there's like 5 or 10 seconds where there's like this awkward pause. He's like, oh, and then somebody eventually asks another question. They can move on. First of all, I want y'all reaction, just like as you hear something like that. And then for you, particularly Vaughn, like, have you been in moments where you said some stuff where you like,
Bro,
dang, I probably shouldn't have said that.
100%. I mean, it's like code switching almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he sees Brandon, so he sees a familiar face. He's like, oh shit, nigga. And you're like, damn. And he knows in his head, he's like, damn, all these people in here, there's probably a bunch of white folks in there. They probably gonna be tripping about that. But at the end of the day, bro, like, I'm gonna be honest, that's just a part of my vocabulary. Like, that's just it's just a pronoun. You know what I mean? And it's never negative or positive. It's just a pronoun.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you don't even think about it. But growing up, like that's just what it was. That's the pronouns we use, the words we use, and I know it's a big thing, and people end up, you know, blowing it out of proportion sometimes. But bro, it just is what it is. You know, we took the word back.
Yeah.
It's my brothers, and you know what I'm saying. My ancestors.
I'm with you too.
But for real,
I'm
though,
with
like,
you too.
you know what I'm saying?
And there's a lot of conversation about whether that word should be used at all for us.
Right.
You know, but I'm the same way. It's a part of, like, just being real with y'all. It's a part of my vocabulary. And so I say the word and I use it as a word of empowerment of us. And so like, I get there's some critiques of we shouldn't say it. And I know him in that space, he's like, oh, it's a dangerous space there. I hope there's no like fine or nothing.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. He's not gonna get fined for that.
I hope not.
I hope not. I don't know what the you might know more. I don't know what the words policy. Like I know if there's like you criticize the officials, you can get fined. There's probably like a language, like if you're particularly explicit, then you can get fined. But I don't know if that word will get him, and I hope not.
I hope not, bro.
I mean, everyone saw the interaction, right? Like it was very wholehearted. Like it was, there was no.
But that's what I mean. Like that's when that's how you use the word. That's how you use the word. It's a word of endearment. And it's like, damn, my nigga was hiding, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? You seen it, Denzel Washington when Jake was like saying, you know what I'm saying? He's. You know, a bunch of people seen that. So that's how a bunch of people use it. That's just. It's just sometimes I don't even know I'm using it. I'm just like,
true.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Same. And to me, that I think is the comfortability. And when I thought that, I was like, man, that man is comfortable with that person, right? And that's all of, like, to me in my job, like just taking it back to I want people to be comfortable with me. That's like, I think the greatest compliment of like, I can get, not that I'm well-spoken or that I'm good at my job. It's like, you know, people seem comfortable with you. I think that's a presence, that's an aura, that's a feeling.
Exactly.
And that comes out there. And I never want to feel players to feel like they got to be extra careful and sensitive because of a fear of what somebody might say about them. And I felt like Najee in that moment felt like I got too comfortable and I had to take it back.
Najee completely forgot everywhere he was in that moment and just saw his boy and reacted based off of that.
But it won't come out. It won't come out if it'll only come out if you're comfortable. Like if you're not comfortable, you're not gonna say it.
True.
But if you're comfortable, you're like, he was definitely like, like, you know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this: 3 years in the league, has there been a moment you've said something, particularly to the media, that you felt like I wish I could take it back? Like, take me to that moment.
I don't think it was specific. I just remember talking to our like video team after, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to like edit that out." Because I was talking and I was like, "Yeah, man, I don't really give a fuck about none of that." And I said that, and then like I looked at them and I was like even recently actually, I was at my locker and I was like, "Yeah, that shit is just kind of my bad, y'all. You're gonna have to edit that out."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it'll slip sometimes, like cursing, and I try not to curse. But man, I mean, sometimes it just sounds right. Like sometimes it just is the right time, but I really try not to say anything, vulgar or anything like that, especially into the media.
There was somebody there, I think, for the Steelers, like off the side, not on camera. You can kind of hear it on the back, and him like being like, "Oh no!" Like he said something along those lines. Like someone in their PR media team was like, "He's like, I forget." You can hear it. Like if we play the video back, you could hear it. There's like something in the distance, like "Oh no," or like, "Damn, why'd you say that?"
That is their job. Please do not say something that is gonna make us
right.
have to play fixed mode. So yeah, number 2, the other thing I saw this week, Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo, after they lost to the Jaguars, they're 1-6 now, said that we're a soft team across the board. Said this in his post-game press conference after.
What I would say is, look, we're a soft football team across the board. We talk about what makes a tough football team. That's being able to run the ball, that's being able to stop the run, and that's being able to cover kicks, and we did none of those today.
Bill Belichick, their former head coach, took a couple shots there, said they're not a soft team. It usually starts with the head coach. A couple of different things there, which, he was fired from the Patriots, so I think that context is key there. But I want to get you guys' reaction of that because the Patriots have not been good, and they've struggled in a lot of areas, particularly the trenches. And they may have shown moments where you can understand why the word soft may come up. But as you hear that, what do you think?
Honestly, I just think he's keeping it real. Like,
Okay.
I don't necessarily know the ins and outs of
course,
you know. We played them, and they're a physical running team or whatnot. But like, he's keeping it real with his players, and he's being honest. He's like, "Yo, like, we're having a tough time, and we're being soft, and we gotta step it up." So I don't. It doesn't shock me if a coach says something like that because. One, it'll either validate that his players are soft if they they kind of like get upset by it. But if they do get upset by it and then start going crazy, then it's used as, a form of motivation so that his players don't be soft in his perspective and they start going crazy and running through people. So, I mean, either way, it'll benefit his team.
Right.
Because some guys are going to be offended, some guys are not, some guys are going to be like, "Nah, I'm going to prove them wrong."
Mm-hmm.
So I have no mind by it.
I think the timing of that quote is relevant for the Dolphins right now, just because not
it's like speaking of
not in the regards to the players, on the Mike McDaniel side of things, where that's what people want Mike McDaniel to do. Mm-hmm. They want to hear him like the accountability and things like that. So I think it's ironic, I guess you could say, right? Where it's like, you're calling out your players, like how is that going to be received like amongst the players? But it's also like, like you said, like hold your guys accountable and you see how they kind of handle it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need that little,
Yeah, you do, and I know Gerard Mayo a little bit. That's his personality. Like he's a former player. Yeah. It wasn't less than 10 years ago that he was a player. And so, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
You got that mark on you.
Good, bro.
It was less than 10 years ago. He's a player. That's how he talks, And he later said, "Hey, like I was trying to say that they're playing soft." I think when you coin somebody that, I think it becomes a little bit more like you're soft, which is soft is a word that
it hurts.
A lot of people don't want to hear.
It hurts,
no one wants to get
call
called
you soft and ball, you like, hold on, motherfucker. Like, you know what I'm saying? It hurts, but I mean, they either gonna take it one way or the other. I agree with you, man. They either gonna take it one way or the other. Yeah, but
it's not the first time that those things have happened.
You were talking about this here, and I could tell that you were.
No, I was just giving them.
So, but let's keep it real here because we're on that because we're talking about the word soft because I have heard this word in reference to the Dolphins before. It's come from other teams, but I asked different teams I talked to about them, and they have used the word soft. They have said, "Hey." Especially last year and this year, you kind of continue in a different way. But they video game offense, but we feel like when things get rough, they're soft. And I've heard that word multiple times. And it's a phrase that somebody outside the building is using towards you guys as a team. I guess when you hear that, same thing that the Patriots are hearing, but more from their coach, which is probably different. Like, what do you think when someone has that outside perception of you or your team?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, I just look at it honestly, like, am I being soft? Like, how physical am I playing? Because when I see that, I'm thinking, okay, then we're not physical. You know what I mean? So then I think about how I'm playing, and if I need to run through a nigga face, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if I am
Marshawn.
already, shout out Marshawn. If I am doing that, and if I am, playing physical and playing hard, then I take no offense to it. Then I know now that I got to make sure my teammates are on that type time. You know what I'm saying? But if I do look at myself and I'm like, damn, I've been fucking up or whatever like that, then I'm like, all right, I got to lock in and be on my shit. So regardless of it, it's not something that I want people to think of my team as, but if it is a reality and they are saying these things, then they're saying them for a reason, and then we got to change that fact.
That's fair.
So
I don't think the Finns have been soft though this year. I don't think that's our problem. Like I think this team actually looks more physical than last year's team, in my opinion. It's just come down to like just execution. I think that's been like the biggest thing.
Mistakes are a big part. We talked about it. You're one of the bottom teams in penalties.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes with like discipline,
Right,
and making sure you're okay in that space. But 2-4, a lot of season left. I know we've been a little critical on the season, man, for this chat, but let's say it's
Debbie Downers over
a lot of season left, a lot of time left for them to turn it around. I hope we're next week coming after Cardinals win, talking about 3-4, about to play the Bills, shaking up the season. We'll see. Selling that hope again.
that's not a very optimistic.
No. We win next week and we beat Buffalo. Oh my God.
We're gonna come here with smiles. We lighten it up.
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith.
America wants you.
Third thing I heard this week was Browns fans at their game. Deshaun Watson goes down with an injury. It ends up, now that we know, it's a torn Achilles. Fans are doing a compilation of booing and cheering as he's hurt. Obviously, Watson's had a rough period in Cleveland so far, but season-ending injury, you see the quarterback on tears as he's getting carted off the field. You get a couple players after the game talking. You got Myles Garrett saying, we don't boo the guys that are injured on the field, especially when the cart comes out. We should be ashamed of ourselves.
Yeah.
Got Jameis Winston, who said a lot, but one thing he said was, I'm very upset with the reaction to this man that has had the world against him for the last 4 years. He put his body and life on the line for the city, right? And so Watson brings up a lot of layers from a lot of people, but when you saw that moment in particular, as you see fans booing and cheering as Watson's on the ground hurt, like, what are you guys thinking?
You booing a player, a person getting injured, turning Achilles is a traumatic experience. You're a loser.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Like, you are a loser of a fan base if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Put your freaking differences aside and like, come on. Like, that's the one moment where like a boo is probably unacceptable. I'm one of those people too that I hate when you boo your home team at the half because they haven't done anything. Right. So
we were getting that.
Trust me, bro.
We were getting booed. That's just ass.
Sit in the stand.
Getting booed is ass. I sit
in the stands and I hear that. I'm like, how are you a fan of your team and you're booing them at the half? So imagine you had that extra layer to your quarterback getting injured.
He's in tears on the cart. He's in tears on the cart.
Yeah.
Achilles, that's like a year. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's what we talk about, like those outlandish fans, and just like you've lost complete perspective and you've let the game and your fanhood just deteriorate your thought process, because there's no place for that in anything.
Cheering, like, woo, somebody gets hurt, you're cheering.
Right.
It's wild.
You're a loser.
It was surprising to see for me. And look, there's a lot of reality here. Like, Watson was not playing good as a quarterback.
Fair,
so I think it's fair for them to have some desire to boo his performance.
Yeah.
That's different than booing when a guy gets hurt. And there may be some people who are still upset with his legal situation, and he had some claims of sexual assault that were settled, right? Those are things that if you decided, I'm not going to be a Browns fan or I'm not going to be a Watson fan because of that, you had that choice. That moment is not the moment to be like, hey, I'm letting all my feelings come out on this particular player in that stadium. You bought tickets to the game. You're clearly a fan of this team, and you're not. To me, you don't use that platform to boo somebody as they get hurt. And so that definitely surprised me. I've been around the Browns fans. I've had good interactions with them. I know they're a rowdy base, but it was definitely hurting, at least in the moment of like, this guy's going through, whatever you think about him, this guy's going through probably one of the most traumatic moments of his life, knowing that this injury is disrupting him. And no matter how money he makes can change the fact that he's going to have a rough rehab to get back to the sport that he loves.
Right.
And his memory is going to be, as I'm carted off, the fans of the team I play for are booing and cheering for my, for me as I'm injured,
Yeah, that was super.
So I think that was rough. The other fan reaction we saw this week came from Saquon Barkley, who is now an Eagle after being a Giant for all his career. He said as he was driving, or as they ride on the team bus to the stadium to play the Giants, he saw fans burning his jersey. He said he saw fans pointing. He didn't know what they were pointing for. He sees the smoke and he realizes he burns his jersey.
I mean, I've seen my jersey get burned before over on social media, but the timing of it, like I'm locked in. I'm listening to my music. And I see like the fans, and all I see is fans just pointing. And I look, I'm like, what are they pointing at? And I see smoke, and I'm just like, then my jersey getting burned. So yeah, that was definitely different. I don't know if I ever experienced anything like that in my life, and hopefully I don't experience that again. But in that moment, I was ready for 3rd and 1. Let's just say that.
He said, I've never seen anything like that. And I hope I never see anything like that again. What did he do? He goes out and rushes for 187 yards. Had a chance to break potential records.
Mm-hmm.
He decided, there was a really cool social media clip. He decided, coach asked him, 13 yards away from breaking, I think it was 176 he had. He could have got 187 to break the record. He said, nah, you have to let the young kids eat, I might have had a different better. I see people burning my jersey. Give me all the yards. 300. Give me all the yards. But I think it says a lot about Saquon that he responded the way he did. But what is you guys' reaction as you hear that?
I mean, like, you're burning bro's jersey. Like, you bought the jersey. You're just burning your own money. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the?
They did it.
You know what I'm saying?
They did it when LeBron left Cleveland too.
Yeah,
that was like all over the place. I never understood that. I think it became a fad once people started doing it, and that's just like their emotional reaction to. That's the one piece that they have a connection to the player, so they're like, I'm going to burn it.
Yeah,
but
it's just like you just
like you said, you just burn like 100. A jersey's expensive,
right?
Jerseys are expensive, yeah.
Right.
Like at least put some tape on the back and just put like someone else's name or something. Yeah. I don't know. Like don't burn it. That's a waste of money.
My thing is, it's not Saquon's fault that he's not a Giant.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a Giant. They did not pay him the money.
They had the clips.
Yes.
They did. It's called
Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
They did not think he was worth. They literally said they did not think he was worth the money. They're showing the decline of running backs, and they were wrong.
Yeah.
Like, how much did he go to the
Yeah. And so your front office, your team made a decision that this dude was not worth this money. He's showing you guys you guys are wrong.
I'm worth
I'm worth the money, and you guys are responding on burning his jersey.
Right.
That doesn't make logical sense to me.
No.
Like,
and he's still indirectly showing love. Like, nah, I'm not gonna set the record on them. So they know I had the record on them.
Yeah.
Let the young guys eat.
Kill him with kindness, like they say.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Shout out to Saquon, man.
Shout out to Saquon.
Tip my hat to you.
killing it, man.
Right.
For sure. Well, as we kind of wrap up this pod, this has been a dope conversation with y'all fellas.
Yes,
As we've learned, keep the faith.
Keep the faith, man.
Keep the faith. That's,
the hope.
That's the motto.
Keep the faith.
This has definitely not been the easiest week for the Dolphins, but the keep the faith and the hope is the messages here. I think you have a message to leave us with, right?
I do, and it's relevant for everything that we spoke about today. So, quote of the day: Tranquilo thoughts. Be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. I think you can't let fear kind of dictate those decisions, and I think it's Tua kind of leading that effort. You know, he's fearless with everything going on, and what sets his soul on fire is football. And I think we all have a very commonality in that we're fearless in the things that we want to accomplish in our life, and it comes with a burning desire of what we're passionate about. And I think you mix those two things together, you're a pretty unstoppable force.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
This is Breaking House Rules. See you guys next week.